Hello everybody, I'm Serge from Skycomp.
I'm April.
And it's been a while since we've done any review videos for different laptops, and Lenovo has come out with a few first generation laptops that we're excited to talk about, and a few next generation laptops of some of the models we've reviewed in the past, but they've updated some of the features and options that come in with them. So we figured it was time to get some laptops out on the table, discuss the different options, where you might want to go. So hopefully you'll find this helpful.
This is a conversation I actually have a lot. There are two new X1s to the Ultrabook line from Lenovo. We have the Titanium Yoga and the Nano. And the two existing, which were the industry leaders, were the X1 Yoga and the X1 Carbon.
And so what makes an Ultrabook? What is an Ultrabook?
So an Ultrabook is going to be ultra sleek, ultra light. It's going to look very professional. So these are things you're going to see when you expect to ask for an AirBook from Mac or things like that. Those are Ultrabooks.
That's probably a good comparison. Sebastian, pass me one of those E15s there. So we had an idea. We saw an awful lot of these E15 models. They're a great value, great price point, great feature set, but what April was talking about in the thickness, and we could see the Ultrabooks are only about 2/3 to a half as thick as the E15. So that's what April's talking about being extra sleek. So there's no space for a CD-ROM drive or a few other things. They have to make some sacrifices, but you likely find that you don't use those things anymore. I was worried when I switched to an Ultrabook that I'd be missing the CD-ROM drive or missing the physical network adapter. It's been a couple years now, and it hasn't bothered me at all. So I don't think you should be worried about it either if that's one of the things that you're worried about. So Lenovo's named all of these laptops, fairly interesting name, the X1 Carbon, the X1 Titanium. Do you have any idea why they named them that?
Well, the Carbon is made out of carbon fiber. It's wide, it's so light. It's extremely durable as well. There's videos where they've set it on fire, thrown it, frozen it, and the laptop still works. I've actually played with that laptop, and it is a little bit marbly in texture, but it still works.
Not that we recommend you doing that to your laptop, right?
Yes, don't do it. Don't do it, okay? I mean, they do have accidental damage protection, but let's not push it. But the titanium is not... You assume that's made out of carbon fiber. This is made out of titanium. It's actually made out of titanium, magnesium, and carbon. That's what makes it so light and extremely durable. And also gives it that nice finish.
And gives it that beautiful silver color?
Yes, this warm, beautiful silver.
Now, is the Nano made out of nanobots?
The Nano is actually made out of carbon, which is why the Nano and the Carbon I kind of lump together as very similar products. Also, when we get into weight regarding these four laptops, when I say heavy, not one of these laptops weighs as much as this. All of the Ultrabooks, I would not consider any of them heavy.
Actually, one that's like almost half the weight.
Yeah.
This is very scientific here, this comparison. But that's about the same weight. 2 Ultrabook laptops to 1 E15.
And this is not a heavy laptop. The E15, or sorry, this is an E14 actually. The E14, which just means the screen size, this is a 14-inch as opposed to a 15-inch. This is not a heavy laptop. This is still a very light laptop. So the Ultrabooks, we're looking at about 2 to 2.5 pounds. So it's incredibly light. However,
with that, like I always like to say, you get to choose speed, size, and price, and you only get to pick 2. So these are light and fast machines, which means they're a little bit on the more expensive side. They're definitely a premium brand and a premium laptop. So idea in Canadian dollars, where do we kind of start in pricing for these Ultrabooks?
The Ultrabooks, we're going to be looking at a starting price. If we're looking at like an i5 8 gig, probably depending on the model you're looking at, you're going to be looking at about $1,800 at a starting point.
And then we can easily go up, I think, this X1 Titanium retails more like $3,500.
Yes, it does.
It's touchscreen. The frame is titanium. It has an active pen, which is pretty handy. The pen's battery powered, so the detail of the pen and the preciseness on the screen is pretty high. but all of those extra features, and this is an i7 build with 16 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD hard drive. So it's pretty specced out and pretty high end.
Internally, this comes with the full line for ThinkShield as well. So all of those security features that you're not going to find in some of these laptops. This has human presence detection, an IR camera. So it's got all the bells and whistles.
Unlock.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is one of the higher end laptops that you can get. So we are looking at a little bit more money. But it depends on what's important to you. It really does. Like if you are traveling a lot and you need something light, an Ultrabook is what you're looking at. This is going to be a little harder to stick in your bag and carry around with you or take on the plane and still work. So that's when we start looking at Ultrabooks. It's not for everybody, but if these things are important to you, an Ultrabook is the way to go.
So April, what's the main thing that you talk to clients about to figure out which way they should go?
First question is going to be, how does this laptop move? Do you want a 2-in-1 or do you want a regular laptop feel? You're going to see, I'm going to take this off because it falls off easily. You're going to see with the Yoga, true to its name, I can turn it all the way around. And then this behaves as a touch screen. I can use my pen. I can press my buttons on my back. They don't function any longer when it's in this form, so you don't have to worry about that. That's often a question is, but I'm still pressing things. That's okay. So this becomes your touch screen. You can use it like this, throw it down your lap, especially if you're using any design. This is definitely the way to go. If you're never going to use this feature, we should just take Yoga off the table. You're going to be paying a little bit more for this flexibility. So then we are looking at the Carbon or the Nano.
And what's the difference between the Carbon and the Nano?
Oh, pick it up, feel it. This is...
So the Nano is considerably lighter, but you can also see, if I line them up, your screen size, and can you get, this is the one size that the Nano comes in?
Yes. The Nano is 13 inches.
You can see it's quite a bit smaller.
However, you can still see the same amount of data on this screen as you can on this screen.
And that's because it's a higher resolution,
Yes.
so everything's a little bit smaller. So
Yes.
if you want large fonts, you might want to stay away from the Nano. Personally, I like running a very high resolution and getting a lot of data on a smaller screen, and that doesn't bother me at all. I know some people in the office, that's a consideration. So it's something you should definitely consider before going to the Nano to make sure you're fine with that smaller screen aspect ratio.
I would say if you're very mobile, if you're moving around a lot, if you travel a lot, if you're on a plane using a laptop, this is brand new. This is Gen 1 Nano. This is the way to go. Actually, when I saw it, I couldn't believe how cute it is. It's so small. It actually looks like a Chromebook, but it is, I can't get over how light this is. Like it's a feather. It weighs about 2 pounds. That's the weight we're looking at, which is the lightest and thinnest laptop that exists actually. If I show you against my smartphone, it is not that much thicker than my smartphone. It's a great choice for a laptop if you're looking for something that you're using regularly in the office or at home, and that's really the only travel. The Carbon is still the way to go. And in my opinion, the Carbon, it's one of the best computers I have ever seen across any line. It is the benchmark to which all other laptops are compared to.
And it gives you a good idea. What generation are we at now with the Carbon?
9.
So this is Gen 1 of the Nano, Gen 9 of the Carbon. So Lenovo's been making the Carbon for quite a while. And really the performance difference between these laptops aren't changing. You can build the similar performance spec. What they're doing, and your main reason of going to the Nano, is that smaller footprint, that higher resolution screen at only 13 inches, so you can still get the same amount of data on there. Now with that, I'm assuming our price point of the Nano will be a little bit more of a premium price to fit that performance into a small box.
The smaller we get, the higher the price gets.
Yeah.
So yes, these are all Ultrabooks. So once we get up to that point, it's kind of negligible. It's not too much more, but we are looking at a bit more money for this unit here. In regards to performance, one thing I did want to mention though, is that even though we can get the same spec across all of these laptops, the performance is very much going to be dependable on how cool that CPU can stay. So out of all 4 of these computers, the CPU on the Carbon actually stays the coolest, so you will see the best performance out of that.
And that's just because they figured out the airflow a little bit better in this one?
The airflow comes straight from the back, and there are 2 fans inside of it, and it just keeps that CPU cooler, which means it runs at a higher performance, running higher performance applications.
And that's Intel kind of protecting that large investment of your CPU. So if it starts to run hotter and starts to overheat, it'll slow itself down so your applications go a little bit slower until the temperature kind of comes down. So that's really what it's doing. the Intel processors can dynamically increase and reduce their speed based on their environment variables. So that's a really good point, and something to note, that if highest performance is important and you want to be in the Ultrabook line, then we should probably be going to the Carbon rather than some of the other options with a little bit different thermal characteristics.
And speaking of temperature, these two are going to be the coolest. The Yogas are going to run the warmest. You're going to hear the fans on them. It's not extremely loud, it's not disruptful, but you do hear the fans on it. I've noticed the titanium Yoga is what I use day to day, and I find even running smaller applications, my fans will kick on. I do hear it. It's not disruptive. I can still watch movies on it, it's fine. But that is a thing to mention. It's a question I get a lot, is people concerned about the heat? Previously in Ultrabooks, we do find they run hotter because they're smaller, they can't fit as many fans. I feel that especially in the Carbon Generation 9, they've really worked on it. Across all of them, they don't get that warm, but the Carbon is the best when it comes to heat.
So I know a lot of business clients, docking stations are important for their home office or their office setup. Is there any considerations to be had between these laptops as it goes as far as docking station options?
Yes, all of these are going to be compatible with a USB-C docking station, which will provide your video, your sound, your network, everything that you require to connect to external monitors.
As well?
Power as well, yes. Some docking stations, that is something you need to look in your docking station. The ports are capable of receiving power, but not all docking stations can provide power. So that is something you need to look in when you're purchasing your docking station. However, for ports, you are going to find that the Nano and the Titanium Yoga will have the least amount of ports available to you. They only consist of 2 USB-C ports and 1 mic speaker combo. Other than that, you are looking at getting a docking station to provide your USB-A, as well as any other HDMI, DisplayPort, any other ports that you require.
So all these laptops have Bluetooth built in, so you can do a wireless mouse.
Absolutely.
Rather than needing to plug in a traditional
Absolutely, and that does seem that is the way, again, laptops are moving towards everything Bluetooth. You have no connections. Another thing to mention, these are all 5G ready as well as Wi-Fi 6 ready. For the Carbon, we're going to see that there are some USB-C-A ports, 1 to 2 depending on your model. What do you have on there?
This one we have 2 USB-A, and it looks like 2 USB-C.
Perfect.
And an HDMI out. And it looks like, so the Carbon, another important thing is if you already have an existing docking station from Lenovo, that's the new style side dock that came out within the last few years, the Carbon has the port that accepts that dock, so you may be able to upgrade to the Carbon and not need to change your docking station, whereas the Nano and the Titanium only have USB-C, so you'll only be able to use the USB-C Lightning dock. So it's a little bit of a change depending if you have existing hardware. That could be another reason why you want to decide to go with the Carbon over one of the other laptops. Now, what about RAM? I know that's something that we brought up, and it was a major difference between some of the other series. So can you add RAM to all these laptops, or are they built in and you have to spec it out ahead of time? That's an important decision factor.
To be capable of getting a laptop this thin, that is definitely one of the things that you need to take into consideration. All RAM will be soldered. So
Okay.
you select your RAM when you're purchasing the machine, and it is not upgradable on any machine. The hard drive, the SSD, however, is upgradable. That can be changed, but your RAM cannot.
So that's a very important factor, and we highly recommend going to 16 gigs or higher in any build, especially because you can't rip and replace. Some of the other models that are a little bit thicker, they have a RAM slot that you might have to take out the existing RAM or put new RAM in. But again, with all these Ultrabooks, the RAM is built onto the motherboard and is not changeable after you make the purchase.
Yes.
So 16 gigs or higher is a very good investment to the longevity of this expensive laptop.
And you can get up to 32. That's another thing to mention. You can get up to 32 gigs if required for your laptop. If you are currently running a ThinkBook computer and you're looking at upgrading and you would like to check how much RAM that you feel that you would need, you can open up Lenovo Vantage in your ThinkBar, run your applications, and then take a peek at how much RAM you are actually using, and that will give you an idea of what you require.
That's actually a very good piece of advice. I know you did another video, we'll link it right here or somewhere, about the Lenovo Vantage. But that's a great diagnostics tool if you're already in the Lenovo family to be able to find those details, and it helps you make an intelligent and informed decision of which machine to move to in the future that kind of meets your needs for performance and what you're doing.
I moved actually from the ThinkBook Carbon Gen 8 to the Titanium, and I was using a little over 7 gigs of RAM with regular application, which is why I decided to upgrade to 16 gigs, and it is definitely running much better. I'm not dropping any video calls. If I would have gone with an 8 gig, I would have regretted it, and this would not have been future-proof for me.
Yeah, so that's a very important factor. So are there any other considerations that people should think of when they've decided they want to go to the premium line? They've figured out the aspect ratio, or if they want the yoga, which goes into tablet mode. Now we're kind of getting it narrowed down of, are there any other factors people should be considering?
Display. I would want to mention display. They are all very clear. They're very great. You will notice across the screens, though, some are more glossy than others. Some of them provide better colors or brightness. So if you are very concerned about the display, so if you're watching videos, you're editing anything, the Yoga does provide a better display option than the Nano or the Carbon.
So it's a higher resolution, higher quality
The resolution,
display.
I think, is actually the same. But there's a lot of other features that go into it, such as the material that the screen is made out of, as well as the brightness it can provide. The color, some of them don't provide color as accurately as others. So there's a few things to look at, and the Yoga does a better job with that.
Perfect. And I also noticed the Yoga, and its important consideration is the aspect ratio. The actual shape of the screen is different than the Nano and the Titanium.
On the Titanium, you're going to notice that it does, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, I think you're going to notice that this is a bit taller, but it has a smaller footprint. You're going to notice a little bit of a difference if you're watching videos. It's going to have a larger black line on the bottom and the top to make that video squish to how we expect to see it. And that took a little bit of getting used to, but as I use my computer more for data, that wasn't really an issue for me. But if that is an issue, if you're watching a lot of video, I would stick to the traditional aspect ratio.
That's a good point. And I know the Titanium also has some of the features like face unlock. And I can't remember the feature where if somebody looks at your screen, what's that feature called from Lenovo
Human
again?
presence detection.
The human presence detection.
Yes.
Now, can we only get that
Nope.
in the Titanium, or are they in the other models
We can get that
as well?
across the models, but it will depend on the model. I know this is a common question that does come up in a lot of our videos, is people are looking at a specific model and they want to know, does their computer have this feature? Lenovo does offer a website called Lenovo PSRef. Sebastian will put that into the link in the video. And you can take your physical part number of your computer and you can search it, and it will tell you every function of that computer. Because just because we're talking about this specific Titanium does not mean every single Titanium that you purchase is going to have those features built into it. So I would suggest, if you are looking at a specific part number and you want to know if it includes the features that we're talking about, to look that up. And it's very easy to read. It gives you every item. You can even press the PDF up on the top of the screen, and it will show you all the pictures and all the upgrade options for your system. It's a great feature, and I would suggest looking at that before you purchase a specific model.
Or, of course, you could just reach out to April or myself at Skycomp, and we can help you walk through that process to help you choose the right laptop.
Absolutely.
So really, that's your decision points of the size of the laptop. So if you want to go down to the Nano or you want a little bit bigger, if you need max performance all the time, we're going to want to be going to the Carbon. If you want the tablet mode, you're going to want to be in the Yoga line. And there's more than just the Yoga Titanium. So we have the Yoga Titanium here. I believe what are the other
There's
Yogas?
the traditional Gen 6 X1 Yoga, and it is spec'd very much the same as the Carbon. They've kind of been the two leading products in this up until this point. You're going to see a little bit of a different aspect ratio in that. It's going to be closer to the Carbon. They're built very, very similar. One thing I do want to mention between the two Yogas is the pen. We did talk a little bit about that. This Titanium will come with an active pen that is very similar to a pen that you would write anything with. It does not sit inside of the chassis. It just has a magnet on the side, which this sits on.
So any final thoughts of considerations between choosing which one of these Ultrabooks, or have we covered everything?
I think we've covered everything.
Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us going over these great Lenovo Ultrabooks. If you're interested in finding out some more videos of different hardware that we've reviewed, you can head over to skycomp.ca/learn with a great resource library of reviews of other videos and software that we've done.
We hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.